I've hit record, and I've said this before that I always like to. There's times when I'm in the shower or I'm somewhere, and I wish that was when I had the microphone going, and that was when I was doing my episode. And I feel like that right now. And I'm also excited because it's been 72 episodes since we had Simon on the show. And Simon, welcome back. Because I'm amped.
Thank you.
I am amped.
Thank you. I'm amped too. It's been a while. It's been a long time. Too long, to be fair.
Really long.
I think it's just been sort of a comedy of errors, or we just had trouble connecting, and now we're connected again. So it's great. Glad to be back.
Good, yeah, and it's kind of like when we first got the idea to have this episode or do this podcast together, which is we felt we were having weekly calls together, just general conversations that we thought were profound in some cases, and thought, wouldn't this make a great podcast?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and we always had this. When we would speak, we always said, "Oh, we talked about this. We talked about this."
That's how we got the name.
This is how the name came up. Yeah, so
it's perfect. And I've actually looked up recently to see if there are any other podcasts called "We Talked About This," and for some reason, there is no other podcast with that name other than ours.
It's fantastic. I love it.
I've seen one variation. It's the famous "We Need to Talk About This."
Oh, yeah. Okay. For sure.
Or "We Need to Talk."
Yeah.
We all know that one.
That's never a good conversation.
But this one will be. I'm confident that it will be. And we've been bouncing around some ideas, some topics. And I some of these topics are just things that come up randomly, driving, shower thoughts, all that kind of stuff. And the one that got me is the other day, I was on my way to the gym, and a radio commercial came on. It was a jeweler, and it was about earrings, I think, and they were talking very briefly about diamonds for a second. They said the tagline at the very end was something like, "Because she never complained that the diamonds were too small," or "Because she never complained the diamonds were too big."
Right. Yeah.
And it just got me thinking, like, that's like societal pressure you're pushing. There's somebody listening to that who hears that and thinks, going back to that, remember the whole 3-month salary is what you need to spend on an engagement ring? You're pushing these some guy in a marketing department is pushing these societal pressures on people that they should spend this money or feel guilty about it. And it bugs me.
Yeah. No, and I know a little bit about this. I know how that whole thing started. Okay. And first of all, I know the commercial that you're speaking about. I don't think we should mention the company because I don't think we can without any kind of pushback. But I will say this. I hate the commercial. I hate all of their commercials.
Me too.
I find them incredibly annoying. But it served its purpose, which is everybody knows what this company is. And I mean, if you're in a party somewhere or even just chatting with people at work or in the back of a car or whatever, all you have to do is name this company and everybody says the same thing. Oh,
yeah.
Those commercials are brutal. But anyway, it served its purpose. Everybody knows the name. It's on everyone's lips. And, but sorry, going back to, this does not mean that I'm an expert. I'm not an expert, but you did say.
Do you know more than the average person
that's
about
right.
a topic?
That's right.
Then you are an expert.
That's correct. And okay, so all I'm going to say then is that this actually started, the whole idea of having or spending 3 months' salary on a diamond for your loved one, for your who will be your fiance or whatever it is. That started, I believe, after the war, after World War II. And part of it had to do with it's De Beers, I think, that is sort of like the diamond. They're the keeper of all the diamonds, basically. It's almost
Cartel.
A monopoly. Yeah. And they stockpile all the diamonds. Diamonds, in fact, are worthless because they're so plentiful that that it's ridiculous. But De Beers, I think, only releases a certain number of diamonds each year, which makes the supply weak, and the demand is strong, which then allows them to control the price of diamonds.
By the way, I did do a quick fact check.
Yes,
you're half right. It is De Beers, but it was in the 30s.
It was in the 30s. Okay.
That's when they did start this. You are absolutely right.
Right. And so in order to sell more diamonds, and I'm guessing this was in the 30s, although I did think it was in the 40s.
Well, they wanted to prey on people in the Great Depression to feel even more guilty about everything that was going on.
No, and so that's why I think it actually happened for this part of it, like this piece where they started to market the diamonds to more and more to couples and say, here's what you want to give as an engagement present, right? Because I don't think diamonds were the standard like 150 years ago. I don't think that's that wasn't
as a thing to give or to have.
Correct. Yeah, I think other gems. I think other types of presents. I mean, you go back 1,000 years. Maybe even not that far. There was a dowry that was given, right? So it was like you go to the family if you wanted to marry someone, and they would be like, "Well, this is what you need to give us, right? 2 sheeps and a goat." I don't know, whatever. I'm just making that up. But that would be the dowry, and so sort of the dowry kind of disappeared, and De Beers started this whole as a marketing campaign. Started the whole 3-month salary. That's the standard, and you would get a nice big size diamond for your loved one, and that's how that whole thing started. Now, I probably butchered the story, and I'm sure I don't have all my facts correct, but that's the gist of it.
I think maybe there was some. I'm trying to think of where the fact they brought. So they did say there was a slowdown in purchases because of the Depression.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
But and maybe that could actually make you feel better that, okay, well, I don't know, if you're out of a job and you're going to buy an engagement ring, then 3 months salary might be like nothing, or $50 instead of like thousands if you had a job or something.
Yeah. And then you've got people that have different jobs, different pay. Like you've got, the guy that works, in the 1940s, he worked on the line, right? Making whatever factory that he may or she may have worked in. Mm-hmm. And then you got the guy that maybe worked on Wall Street that made pretty heavy penny, right? So you would be talking about 2 totally different size diamonds here for 3 months salary. But anyway.
Well, I have a question. Did you use the 3-month rule when you bought your engagement ring?
I didn't. No. It wasn't 1 month, but it wasn't 3. So
right.
I think we settled on like 2. And then to be fair, like we picked it out together. And then, then I went and picked it up in secret and proposed at my speed. Like it was never predetermined, whatever.
Well, that sounds like a topic in itself, is the whole, do you talk to, proposals. We did cover a topic, not you and I, but Paul and I talked about asking for the father's hand in marriage, that tradition. But I was speaking to the tradition of the fact that you both picked out the ring, mm-hmm. and she had a say in it, and then at some point you then popped the question. Mm-hmm. So you did have some pre-consultation in terms of the ring and the style of it, 100%. And stuff like that. Yeah,
and that's the way to go as far as I'm concerned. She's got to wear it for the rest of her life. So
yeah. Did I ever tell you my story about the ring? What I was going to get for Annetta?
I think you did, but yeah, go ahead. Tell
her.
Anyway.
I'll just tell it very quickly. I showed it to her sister-in-law, the concept I had in mind. It was a little bit different than the usual. And her sister looked at it and she said, no.
Well, see, but she saved you, right?
In the end, I showed Annetta what I would have picked, and she says, I'm really glad you spoke with my sister.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing in the end, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, just going back to the whole diamond thing, that whole concept of spending 3 months salary to me is, I think, a silly notion. And I think a lot of people realize that now. But going back to when I think it really started was at the end of World War II, the economy needed to be kickstarted. And this was one of the things, along with many, many other things. Marketing, heavy marketing became a thing.
Yeah.
And they started showing commercials, or airing more commercials on the radio. And then eventually in the 50s, when TV became more prevalent, they started doing commercials on TV to buy all kinds of things. So this was part of the beginning of that. Let's ramp up the American economy and let's make people spend 3 months salary on a ring.
So
again, I may have all my facts.
no, you're right about the ring, the diamonds though, as far as jewels went, that apparently diamonds did not become a big thing. They were not a big thing. What is it saying here? Where did it go?
Yeah. Well, while you look for that, I will say that I think that a lot more people should abandon that theory. And I think in recent years, people have. The notion of a diamond as an engagement present for your loved one is sort of has slipped a little bit over the years. I don't think it's as big. I've heard stories of people buying different gems. So,
yeah, so
you know,
so it was, yeah, it's important to note that up until this point in the 30s, diamond rings were not the norm for engagement jewelry. And in order to change that narrative and improve their business profit, De Beers claimed that diamond engagement rings were a true symbol of love and that buyers should commit 1 month of their salary to the purchase.
Oh, it started with one. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that in the 80s, the number was upped to 2 months, and then that eventually turned into 3 months.
Okay. See, so there you go. My facts weren't entirely correct, but
that's
I
okay. The spirit of it was right. The spirit of it was right.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the original reason why this irked me. Like,
yeah.
I found this with other things too, that just because it rolls off the tongue well, or somebody's packaged it into a nice advertising or marketing slogan, that there are people out there that then feel that's what it should be. So that's what bothers me about it is that somebody's pushing this out there, and it could be causing a lot of angst and turmoil for people that think, whoa, maybe I can't afford this, or the person receiving the ring thinks, oh, he should be spending 3 months if he really cares about me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's hard to unpack all in one shot, because if you go from the receiver side, if she or he, I suppose, is thinking that way, like, oh, this person didn't spend enough on this ring, is that really the kind of person you want to be hitched to for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
That seems a little materialistic to me. On the other hand,
well, there's plenty of materialistic going on out there.
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. No kidding. But, on the other hand, you do want it to be somewhat special. This is a kind of a, hopefully, once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
And you want it to be somewhat special. So for sure, I think you should spend some money, but then it really depends on the person, right? Depends on how much you can afford and how much you're willing to afford. And I don't think that an actual amount should be put on it, but I completely understand it from a marketing perspective. If you can change how people feel about something, that's marketing in general, right? Like, you want to make sure that you get the most for what you're selling. So anyway.
All right. Well, the next thing I wanted to talk about, and this isn't, by the way, meant to be a rant by me, but I guess I got another one that's sort of in this category, is it's the phenomenon of when you go into a place where you're required to wait. So it could be a waiting room at a doctor's office, you're getting your driver's license renewed, anywhere where you're required to wait. And typically these places, you would put your name in, they know who you are. And then, I guess the only way to know whether it's your turn is to have your name said. Well, I was at the Apple store the other day. Not a sensitive topic necessarily. It's not a doctor's office, but I was there, and Apple stores are packed usually, a lot of people, and I was getting my AirPods looked at because one of the AirPods has stopped working properly. So I took a number, if you will, logged in when I got there, and I had an appointment with the Genius Bar, and I was there about
Did
10.
they tell you to charge them?
No, I'll tell you what they said, but I guess the thing is that I was about 15 minutes of sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear my name yelled out, and I'm thinking for a sec, like, a name is a very personal thing, and to have it like announced in a room with like 200 people, going about their business, albeit, and having your personal name just yelled out like this was like, it just kind of irked me a bit, and it just got me thinking, like, isn't that a violation of some sort, or am I overreacting here?
Was it first and last? Or was
Good question.
Was it just Clark?
I think it was just my first name.
Okay.
But it isn't always just your first name in these scenarios. I know in doctors' offices that typically will be first and last.
Oh, yeah. It's the first
So
and
in
last,
this case,
yeah.
I can't remember, but yeah.
Okay. So in the Apple store, I don't think I would be. Well, I think you and I might not. You may have a problem here because I don't think I'm not. It doesn't bother me
So I am
as much.
overreacting.
Yeah, I think you might be just a bit. I think if you're going to the Apple store, okay, first of all, anytime you go into an Apple store, have you ever gone into an Apple store aside from when it just first opens in the morning where it's not busy at all? Like that place is always a zoo. So, or it seems that way. So you've gone in, you've taken a product that they sell, and you've gone for their technical advice on the product that they sell, and it's busy. And in order to service the people that are there, they've got to take names. And then you're not going to stand there like an idiot, like just waiting for 30 minutes. You're probably going to browse a little bit close by. So they're going to have to shout your name to get your attention. And I don't know that there's any way else to do it.
I mean, you could with phones and everything now. You could have your phone beep with like a alert.
As soon as I said that, I'm like, but wait a minute. We live in the area or the era of
your restaurant table. Your table's ready, and you get a little text. Your table's ready at Milestones or whatever you pick your restaurant.
You're absolutely right. I can't really argue against that, but again, okay, so fine, maybe they could do it differently in the Apple store. But when you're in a doctor's office or the hospital, I mean, we had an episode here where I talked about my colonoscopy, I think. No,
I talked about mine.
You talked about yours, but I talked about my what was it? It was
testicular
like
something.
Examination. Like I had to get,
We called it a procedure.
Ultrasound. Yes, we did.
Ultrasound, yes.
That's an old person word, by the way. Procedure. When you're older, you have a procedure. Yeah.
And we talked about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Procedure. I think we mentioned procedure about 20 times in one episode.
That's right. But when I was sitting there in the hospital, they did call me. Now, when I went, it wasn't particularly busy, fortunately. So not a lot of people heard my name. But also, nobody really knows why I'm there. I'm there to get an ultrasound. It could be on my neck. It could be on my stomach. It could be on my foot. I don't know. Whatever. Back. Nobody knows it was on my...
Simon Riley, for the testicular ultrasound?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Like if it was like that, okay, then you're breaching a little bit on the privacy side, right?
They call your name up, and as you get to the counter, you're not quite there, but you're still within earshot. That's the testicular ultrasound, right?
That's right. Yeah. Just to confirm that, sir, you're here for the testicular ultrasound? Yes. Yes, I am. I think I would have a problem if someone was going to announce my actual reason why I was there at the hospital or the doctor's office. But if I'm in,
probably has happened. Or what
sure.
I said, that example of saying it out loud enough that people can hear it. I think some of that's situational awareness, and you go, as those workers there, they're dealing with it all day, every day, and unless they've got, it's probably training to a certain extent to say, hey, everybody, remember, when you're talking about medical things, you're not supposed to talk about it. They probably learned about that in their training, but maybe after rounds and rounds and rounds of it in a tired day, you then do slip to the whole, yeah, he's here for his testicular. Can you get Jack, Dr. Jack, the one, the testicular doctor? Okay.
Yeah.
There's probably not. I imagine he's not a testicular doctor. There's probably a name for it.
I think that it's hilarious that you just said that his name was Dr. Jack. That's a whole issue right there. Anyway,
you're right. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
I'm unreasonable. I'm willing to accept that in an Apple store that probably was maybe a bit unreasonable. All right. Okay. This is a topic that's been on my mind a while because it sort of came up a few months ago, and that is what's the movie or movies that you have not seen that when someone finds out you haven't seen it, they say, "What? You haven't seen that?" Or like, "Where have you been, under a rock all your life?" Like, and I have one that this provoked that response a few months ago, and it was somebody was talking about the new Top Gun movie, and I happened to say, actually, I haven't seen the original.
Is that a real statement? Are you kidding me?
I'm serious.
Okay, I can understand the reaction of, oh my God, like, how did you not see that movie? I've seen that movie
never
100 times, and it's almost not an exaggeration.
Yeah, no, I've seen little bits and pieces, just like flipping channels or a YouTube clip of something, like a famous scene or like the planes flying. And you would see it in the Best Buy or the Future Shops. They would always use that movie to demo the stereo surround sound TV systems. But that was my exposure to it. I never saw the movie from front to back.
Okay, so you haven't seen the first one, but have you seen the second one?
I haven't. And that's partially, I figure I shouldn't until I at least get the first one under my belt, even though there may not, maybe it stands alone on its own, but I think I should see the first one before I watch the second one, is my guess.
Okay, so there are a few movies that I think that you should see in your lifetime, especially because that one is one of those movies that it's a bit iconic, and there are lines in that movie that people will say in everyday life, like, talk to me, Goose, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've said that to people as a joke. You're trying to be funny, you're at a party or something like that, and that line comes out. So many people have used that. But then there are all kinds of other things too, right? Like, I feel the need for speed. Like, it's almost like
clouds are parting, by the way, as you tell me this. I'm starting to remember hearing those phrases.
Of course.
And now I know where they come from.
So some of these lines from this movie have bled into like our culture. And they are part of our, and then if you say that stuff, that's when people are like, oh yeah, Top Gun, like stuff like that. There are more lines from that movie, by the way. I'm just not going to go through them all, but sure. But I have one for you.
It's one thing I want to say that adds to what you're just saying, which was it help things like this help you also understand Simpsons episodes, because they are constantly like, if you look at something like Citizen Kane and the rose, like I think he calls out about a rose or something like that, the rosebud, and that's been referenced in so many different things. Yet if you haven't seen the movie, you would have no idea, and it's referenced occasionally, and so so you've got what have you got that's you feel? It sounds to me like I've got the grand master of movies, and you're not going to be able to come close. But I'd love to know what you would consider one of your movies. That's pretty
big. Yeah. You've got a good one. I do have a good one too.
We should rank them one day. We should say, here are the top 5 movies that if you haven't seen it, you better get to the bloody theater and see it, or rent it, or whatever.
I don't know if there is a top 5. It would be a large list, but I never saw Pulp Fiction, and I still haven't to this day.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know that that's another movie. Like, if you bring that up, people are like, what? What is wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. And another one that I haven't seen that was around the same time was Kill Bill. I never saw that one either with Uma Thurman.
I've seen Pulp Fiction a few times, and I've seen Kill Bill once, but I heard someone say they hated the movie, and it kind of turned me off of it. So I was like, and it was someone I respect that said that they hate Kill Bill, and I think I've seen scenes from it, and then the little bits of scenes I've seen have made me say, yeah, I could see why this is something I probably wouldn't like either.
I think it would be fun to have, like, say, 20 or 25 movies and just rattle them off, and in some way have, I don't know, like you know how, like, a radio station will do, like, quick, like, rapid fire questions, and you have to answer them in a certain amount of time. I don't know what we could build around a bunch of movies, but we should try. Like, what if we could do, like, have a bunch of movies? Can you say a line, just one line from each of these movies?
Right.
I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I think that might be tough to put together.
Well, we'll get our producer on that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
70 episodes later, I do have several. I have a staff now, Simon.
Nice. Good for you. I'm impressed. I'm impressed, Clark. Good for you.
So we're kind of under a time crunch today because we both have to do other stuff. So I think we got time for one more kind of segment here. I like your idea, by the way, on the movie thing, whether it's a trivia thing or a contest of some kind. Yeah, I like that. So what's speaking of which, I guess what have you been watching, reading, listening to? Anything that's interesting these days?
Well, I have been reading a book. Okay, so I've read this book before, but I've gone back and read it again, and it's called A Short History of Everything, or something like that, by Bill Bryson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
a
read
great read.
The first quarter of it.
Yeah. It's a great read.
It is.
So I'm kind of trying to work through that again, my second go. And so that's the book I'm reading right now. And then, like, Netflix. I've watched a few Netflix series, like the limited edition ones.
Mm-hmm. Are you a Crown guy? Were you into The Crown?
I have not got into that yet, no.
Great series. But I've been hearing negative things about the latest season.
Oh, okay. I just watched The Diplomat, which was surprisingly good.
Oh, is that with the guy... that came up on the show recently. The guy that's in that has been in a few things.
Yes, he's in another one called Kaleidoscope.
Okay. What's his name? That
I
guy?
don't know.
Rufus Sewell? No. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie. Anyway, it's
so
good.
The Diplomat, I thought was pretty good. I mean, it did win a couple of Emmys or something like that. Not Emmys. Wait, that's daytime. What would it be? Well, it won something. It wasn't
Golden
like an
Globe,
Oscar.
Or is that movies? Well, this is a movie. Or no, it's a series.
It's a limited series.
Probably
so maybe
Golden
it wasn't.
Globes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it did win something, or it was nominated for something, and it was quite good. I liked it. I know we have a mutual friend who is fairly critical of certain movies and shows. I'd be interested to get his take on it, but
it is Emmys, by the way. The Emmy Awards are an extensive range of awards for artistic and technical merit for the American and international television industry.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right.
And the Golden Globes, well, I think there's the daytime Emmys. I think
that's
there's a separate thing.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I think there's two types. So you got the soaps and all that fall into the daytime ones.
Got it. Okay.
So The Diplomat, good. So it's good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought there were certain things about it that I thought were, a little overacted, but TV in general is tough, right? Like it's hard, and movies too. It's hard to, and I found the older that I get, the more critical I've become, right? Mm. Like, you've got to really make me believe that this is happening, and I'm finding it's harder and harder.
So you're they call that something. What's that called? We use it in the theater all the time. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
And
ability
but
to
it's hard
just
to
say
do, right?
it is. Mike finds that hard too. Our friend you were referring to, he finds that a little hard too because he's working on movies all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
even me, the little bit I know just from his stories, I find when I watch movies, I do start thinking about how they did an effect or that, right, like if you were able to bring the cameras back like 5 feet, you would see the lights and the guy holding the
boom
microphone and
yeah,
and
the boom mic
the staff hanging out at the sidelines and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and but okay, and then there was another one that I watched too called Florida Man, which is more. It's fun. It would just be like a fun, kooky, limited series as well, and it was okay.
And that's
It
a
had one of
play
the-
on the term where it's always there's some Florida man where something's happened. It's like a news type of term.
Yeah. No, it's not. This guy was born and raised in Florida, but hates Florida, and he never wanted to go back. Ended up in Philadelphia. Never wanted to go back, and I won't give it away, but circumstances draw him back to Florida, and he hates the fact that he's there the whole time. So,
But I think it's a play on that whole internet meme of
Maybe.
Florida man. It's a meme that I just looked it up. 2013, it was popularized, referring to an alleged prevalence of people performing irrational and maniacal actions in the U.S. state of Florida.
there you go. There you go. Yep, absolutely. It's definitely a play on that. Then I did not know that.
For
What about
me,
you?
Yeah, so well, I mentioned this a few episodes ago that I was watching Better Call Saul. I've wrapped that up. That's I think it's a prequel to Breaking Bad or
It is.
sequel.
I believe
don't-
it is.
It's some overlap. I think I finished watching Better Call Saul. So that I really enjoyed it. I love. It's not everybody's cup of tea. If you're a Breaking Bad guy, it might. Fixing my mic here. It might or might not work for you because if you watched Breaking Bad, did you watch it?
I did. I loved it.
Breaking Bad had that a lot of dark stuff. Like Vince Gilligan uses a lot of symbolism and darkness around things. There's dark, a lot of, you know what I mean by that, darkness. Better Call Saul doubles down on that. It's much slower pace. There's symbolism. There's the characters are deep, and you see them from multiple dimensions. And so, Better Call Saul, I recommend at least try it. If you liked Breaking Bad, at least try it. And I don't know that you necessarily have to see Breaking Bad to like it, but it's kind of more fun if you do because you do see some reference points. The thing I did want to talk about, it's a little more serious, I guess, is a book that I came across that our friend Mike, he's come up now a few times today, that recommended to me, and it's called Discipline is Destiny. It's a recently written book by a guy named Ryan Holiday it's a lot of the theme around it is about stoicism. And it's very easy read stoicism, which actually a lot of stoicism is fairly easy to digest. I don't know if have you had any exposure to like stoic type readings before?
Probably not, but I've definitely had exposure to stoic type people.
Okay. Well, so a stoic is a person who can endure pain or hardship without their showing emotions or complaining about it. But there's also like stoic philosophers, and they'll just have a lot of like expression things that just different ways of looking at things. Getting up early in the morning, it may be hard to do, but because it's hard to do, it's rewarding.
Okay.
Or if you've got a lot of pain in your life, rather than just medicating yourself to cover over it, try to get into the reasons for the pain. Do you need to be in better shape? Would increasing your muscles help you, not be in pain? Like things like that. So Stoicism, this is I highly recommend it. It's easy to read. I actually bought 2 copies of it for a couple of clients of mine who I think will enjoy it. And so it's called Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday.
So it doesn't mention if you have pain, you should drink.
Well, you're bringing that topic up. We did have the last episode called Sober Curious. And I think
nice. That's a movement.
It is a movement. I mean, I talked extensively, and I guess you're not following. We talked about this. You're not up to date on latest episodes.
Not on the latest, no. But that's interesting. Yeah, that movement. So to steal a line from this actual podcast, we have talked about this. We talked about this and people's sober journeys. My journey is not a sober one.
Yeah.
I'm in an industry where alcohol flows freely, and it is often encouraged, almost like that whole, what, you're not drinking? Oh my God, get something into this guy.
Yeah. And I know that. That's how my industry is too. And the insurance industry is famous for this as well. And I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But you and I have had conversations about, and me specifically, about pulling back on alcohol consumption because for various different reasons. I mean, we're not getting any younger. It's not exactly the healthiest of habits if you're doing large quantities on a frequent basis.
Even on a little bit of a basis, apparently the health studies are saying that there really isn't any healthy amount of it, even in small quantities. But obviously, the more you take, the worse it is.
Yeah, I wonder though if, do you remember when we were kids and they told us not to drink coffee because it would cause you cancer? And now it's
that's total bullshit.
Go ahead, drink coffee because it's great. It's good for your liver. It's good for your blood. It's good for
brain
this.
cells.
It's good for that. It makes you concentrate better. It improves cognitive ability. There's just 9 million other. So I think the jury probably is still out on alcohol when it comes to even just moderate consumption. But going back to what I was saying about large quantities, even on an infrequent basis, probably not the best play. And my goal is to get to a point where I can only drink or choose to only drink just a few times a year. Maybe around Christmas or New Year's, birthday, a close friend's party where you're gonna get into it and have some fun. But then that's that's 5-6 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably, where I'd like to end up. That's where I want to land. And then the rest of the time, just don't really drink at all.
Yeah. My thing's been that I just don't think I can do it in moderation.
Right.
I've been watching, did you watch Ted Lasso?
I've heard a lot about it, but no, I haven't watched that.
Good series. It's amazing how much drinking references there are in the show, though. It takes place in the UK, so they're in pubs a lot, and they cope with various scenarios by drinking. And so I do get sometimes I'm watching it and I'm really glad that I'm not drinking and thinking, I don't need to go down that road. But then there are other times where I'm like, man, it would be kind of cozy to sit in a little pub, and have a pint or two and just, shoot the shit. And I've been saying that all non-alcoholic beer has been a savior for me. But it's just funny how much it hits you in the face. And that's been one of the hardest things for people, is that it's advertised so heavily. It's in regular everyday shows. It's not seen as a forbidden fruit or a forbidden thing like the way a drug would be. If you're watching a show where someone's snorting cocaine, that's usually something very negative that's happening in that show.
Yes.
Whereas two guys sitting in front of a pint of beer watching a football game, it's kind of seen as kind of nice. So that's the whole thing with booze, is it's just not. I mean, we do know the dark, ugly side of it.
Of course.
It's destroyed a lot of families, and it's led to a lot of people making really bad decisions. And we do know about that, yet it seems to get kind of glossed over by the advertising industry, The fact that having it and not abusing it is okay. Like, it's not hurting people, so it's okay. But anyway, yeah. Why did you bring up booze in this case? Why did that come up?
I can't remember. What were
We'll
we
have to
even
go back and
talking
listen
about?
to it. Well, we can
Yeah.
go back and listen.
I probably just wanted to hear the sound of my own voice. It's been so long since I've been on this. I just throw random stuff in. No, I don't think it was random. I think I actually...
There was a reason.
point.
We'll go back.
Yeah.
See, other
We probably
people,
haven't... Yeah, we haven't wrapped
listeners
it
can
up.
hit 15 second, 15 second, 15 second, 15 second, 15 second, and go back to when you brought it up. Oh, that's why he brought it up.
Yeah.
But
Somebody will comment on it and be like, "Oh, you guys started talking about this, and that's why it went here."
well, I should use the opportunity. If you do want to comment as a listener, we really value your feedback. We value your input, topic ideas. We talked about this 99 at gmail.com. And Simon has frozen, and he just left. Oops. Hopefully I'm still being recorded. So I'm all alone here. We were about to wrap up anyway, and I'll see if Simon comes back. But if not, that may be his goodbye. Yeah, well, I'm going to just wait here for a sec to see if he comes back. But yeah, we talked about this 99 at gmail.com. Send us a note, feedback on the show, topic ideas, and hey, even if you want to maybe be a guest on the show, reach out. We'd be happy to hear from you. And I don't think Simon's coming back, so I think I will wrap the show up there. Good to have Simon back. Thanks everybody who listens to this show. We really do appreciate it. And I don't think we said anything too bad. So nephew, this will be a nephew approved show, so you will be able to listen. So bye for now.